All right, Kipsters. So we're going to be finding the domain and range of a parabola. Every time I think of domain and range, I think of Dr. XY because it helps me remember what values I am looking for. For example, if I'm looking for domain, I'm going to be looking for all of my X values. So I want to know on this graph, all of my X values that the graph is going to hit. That means I read it from left to right. So I want to know my starting point and I want to know my ending point. But there's a catch. I want to know the ends of my graph. In this case, I see my ends have arrows. That means they're going to be going off of this graph and they're going to continue on forever. If that happens, let me stamp it one more time. If I have arrows on my graph, that means it's going to go on forever. So the domain is going to be all real numbers. We're going to be talking about range. And range is all of my Y values. So I want to know from lowest to highest point. So on this graph, I always start with my lowest number first. And I see the lowest is right here. That is the lowest it can go. And I want to know what number it hits. And I see that it hits at -3. So I know it hits at -3. And I want to know my highest points. I see that my highest points have arrows. If it has arrows, then that means it's going up and beyond forever. In that case, I know my graph, since it's above -3, it is going to be y is greater than -3. And that one more time, my y values, meaning the graph, has to be above -3. That's why its y is greater than -3. At this moment, I want you to pause the video. I want you to attempt this one on your own. And then I'm going to give you the answers in a few seconds. So I want you to pause the video. I want you to do this one on your own or attempt on your own before I give you the answers. Domain are all of my X values. So that means I want to know the beginning and end of this graph. But as you can tell, the beginning and end do have arrows. Since they both have arrows, that means it's going to be all real numbers. Let's talk about range. Range, remember, is from lowest to highest. At this moment, I'm going to be looking for my lowest points. That means the furthest down from my graph. And I noticed that it has arrows. Well, I'm going to leave it like that. And I want to find the highest point. I see my highest point is right here. And I notice that it is at 7. And it is a positive 7. My whole entire graph is below 7. So I know all of my Y values are going to be less than 7. Since my graph is below the highest point, which is 7, so you see how my graph is down below over here, I know it's going to be my less than symbol. Earlier, the graph was above that -3, and that is the reason why we had the greater symbol right there. So be very careful because depending on the way your graph is made, it will change your symbols. So another way you could think about it is if it's a happy face, then it's going to be my greater than symbol. If it's less, or if it looks like a frowny face, it's going to use my less than symbol.